there, but get the ball. Field switch to Morimatsu. Ukumura as it's cycled around. Suzuki, sidewinder, backed up by Tateshi. Tateshi with the last 2 assists. Umehara from Suzuki, now back to Junichi Suzuki. Japan cycling, moving it where they want. In traffic, the shot by Tateshi.
Japan ball. Again, taking around the side right, now side middle, working the ball around.
Almost a no-look pass from Umehara, it seemed.
Now side back.
Japan tries to penetrate the defense. It's knocked away, and now some possession for France. Rosenberg picked up the Lucy there. France attempting to clear, but a good check by Toru Morimatsu. It's kicked over toward the sideline, and last touch by France. Still no true offensive possession yet
Ball top right.
on the French side. Played 10 minutes nearly.
With just over 5 minutes remaining, Japan leads.
You know those attackmen from France are eager to get out there and show what they can do. The evolution of this Japan team taking place from the 2018 World Championship in Catania to here in San Diego. They got younger. And they've continued to score as Ukumura puts it in. Yuya Ukumura, another player who refined his skills in Coquitlam in British Columbia. Timeout taken by France here in the first quarter.
Thank you all for joining us today. It's a beautiful day for a beautiful day.
And AJ Cannell with you
our sponsors, Rady Children's
here
Hospital
in San Diego.
And they are proud to sponsor the
World
World
Championship presented by Rady Children's Hospital.
The very best children's hospitals
France takes
anywhere.
time out,
Rady Children's
down
is the largest provider
4-0
of
in the opening quarter of
comprehensive
play.
medical services in the region.
Mora just scoring for the first time, and the third straight assist by Shinya Tateshi.
Morgan Stanley private experience.
That was making the point going into the timeout that Team Japan, only 3 returning players for 2018. Average age in the 30s during that World Championship. It's in the mid-20s now for this team, which so far has goals from Kanaya, Morimatsu, Obana, and Okumura. The last 3 assists from Tateshi. Okumura also with an assist, so he has a 2-point game. And Tateshi with a 3-point game, all on assists. 4 different goal scorers. Here in this Pool B matchup, France and Japan. France is the highest ranked team again outside of Pool A. Wales is the second ranked team in Pool B, as number 14 in the world, dictated based on your finish in the previous World Championship. France, the 33rd ranked team in the world, Denmark, the 34th ranked team, and Uganda as the 40th ranked team worldwide, rounds out Pool B. There's one other Pool B game right now, Wales against Denmark, as Pool B gets underway officially in the World Championship here in this 1 o'clock time slot. Right now, Wales leads Denmark just 1-0 in the middle of the second quarter. So France calling timeout, coming off of a 4th straight Japan goal they'll face it off. Face-off cadence a little bit different than you might see, for instance, in a Premier Lacrosse League game.
Let's go, Remy!
It's a, pun intended, a little more drawn out, but it has not been for Japan, as Casey Victor Shiki continues with a little bit of help from Shimada to dominate at the face-off X. France has not managed itself a true offensive possession yet.
The ball, side right.
We asked coming into the game what Japan's goals were for this year's World Championship. They said at least be in the semifinals. So they have big goals, and it's Tateshi who's been dictating play. He's one of the 4 captains on the team. They go over to France here after that additional attempt. If the French can clear it and finally have an opportunity. No clearing timer, so teams can take their time. Jack Snyder out of Rhodes College in San Rafael, California. Now, France is going to use its second timeout. You have 2 timeouts in each half. Possessions have been so hard to come by that for France, they're going to use it and just try and get some order restored. Put together a real possession here. Second timeout by France. And I'm going to step aside here in the first quarter.
Hey, come on, Juice! Come on, James!
AJ Cannell back with you here at SDSU Sports Deck 2023 World Lacrosse Men's Championship presented by Rady Children's Hospital, as France utilizes its second and final timeout of the first half to establish some possession. And Team France looking to strike for the first time in these 2023 games. Dylan Snyder up top to Justin Rosenberg. Rosenberg and James Barlow, both out of the University of Vermont. France is on the board, 5-0 walk out of Chester, New Jersey, and Marquette University. The only active Division I player on the France side. So a timeout well spent by head coach Brendan Bonnicum to try to get his team back in the game.
Face off win by Japan.
Let's go defense!
That shot by Tateshi.
Possession remains for Japan on the back.
Remember, running clock until the final 30 seconds of the quarter.
Ball is now back left with less than a minute to go in the first period. Now it up.
Could imagine here Japan will hold and try and attempt the final shot.
In the first period.
See as they're cycling it around. Shot is taken by Uehara. It's saved by Varela. Pops straight up in the air. Flag flies. And with under 30 seconds to go in the quarter, the scoreboard clock is still rolling. I think they're going to have to reset that because play had stopped.
With a push.
Now the clock reads 0.
That is the end of the first quarter.
And I saw the clock still running there after the whistle, but the officials, are they going to reset this clock or are they going to end the quarter is the question. I believe it should be set to around 15 seconds based on what we saw.
We need 16 seconds.
16 seconds.
16 seconds on the clock, please. Let's go, Blue!
16 seconds back on the clock for the first period as Japan has possession. Japan leads 4-1. 16 seconds in the first period.
So Japan holds possession with 16 seconds. And now they'll get it back into play.
10 seconds.
Now Japan is 6 on 5 here, so they're going to probably hold this and keep possession into the next quarter, it looks like. It's 4-1 Japan after 1 quarter of play.
We want to send it away from our sponsors. The lacrosse goals used on the game field were made by Gilman Gear. Engineered to eliminate stinging, designed to ping when the ball starts to connect, block the goal, and make it painless. Gilman Gear is a proud sponsor of the 2023 World Lacrosse Men's Championship. And we thank you all for being here today. Yazantou, thank you in Oneida of the Haudenosaunee. Merci beaucoup, thank you in French. Arigato, thank you in Japanese. This is the medicine game. Chief Oil Mines of the Haudenosaunee says the medicine is in the ball. It is medicine for those who are playing and those who are watching. So we hope you enjoy some of the medicine game here today. France and Japan return to the field for the start of the second quarter. Japan 4, France 1.
Start of the second quarter. AJ Cannell, so glad to welcome in now Courtney Martinez Connor into the broadcast at SDSU Sports Deck for Japan and France. It's a 4-1 Japan lead after the first quarter. Varela makes a nice save with Japan and the man up. Courtney, welcome in.
Thank you. You have to be confident right now if you are France. They've been able to get onto the board offensively, and then on the defensive end of the field, knocking down a couple of passes. It's just a matter of coming up with that ground ball.
That shot by Hiroki Kanaya didn't really get everything on that one as he was checked in the shooting motion. Now Kanaya, he got all behind that one. Kanaya scores for the second time. And Japan is up 5-1.
Hiroki Kanaya, this is his second World Championships. He also played in the World Games last summer. Second goal of the day. He had the first to put Japan on the board. Big tournament back in 2018, scoring 7 points on 6 goals. Look for him to be a big factor offensively for Japan.
Yeah, they only returned 3 players from 2018. And from your conversations with the Japan coaching staff, what do you think they're able to do in kind of turning this roster over?
You know, it's a lot of youth. They talk about it's that next generation who are players who are turning up and turning out offensively for them. And they're very impressed with number 33, Tomoya Soreyama. They said he's the youngest, but he is one of the best players, and he has just had a huge improvement even just in the 5 days of being here in San Diego. So they expect for him to continue to get better throughout the tournament.
He's one of those players that appeared in the U21s in Limerick, Ireland last year. And there are 2 players in the roster who played in the U21 World Championship. Expect more to filter in to this senior national team roster in the coming years, but it's been a youth movement.
A lot of patience being shown by the Japanese national team as they're shifting around, spreading the field, looking at any mismatches. They're very thorough offensively.
Goal by number 3 for Japan. That is Shinya Tateshi, the attackman, out of Tokyo, representing Kyoto University.
Japan goes up 6-1.
The score, Japan leads 6-1 with roughly 12
Shinya Tateshi with the last goal for Team Japan. In World Games last summer in Alabama, he had a team best 18 goals, 4 assists. Again, showing his range, his quickness on his release of shot. Shinya Tateshi extending the lead by 5.
He has been spectacular. Shinya Tateshi out of Tokyo and Keio University. Already with those 3 assists in the first quarter, adding an assist and a goal in the second quarter. So he's working on a 6-point performance.
Japan has possession, top left.
You know, if you're Japan, you're really just trying to get comfortable. This is your first game of the tournament. Seeing how things match up, see what different combinations of players work best. Interesting that the Japanese coaches said they don't see their players as primary or secondary. They just solely implement players on the field, don't call anyone subs. They like to see just who's working best, and that's what these early games are for.
Goto.
Loose ball here. as Japan will maintain possession.
That's picked up by Umehara over in the corner.
Ball is now going to X. Now back left
Nagasaki. Haven't heard so much from Sota Hakazaki yet.
Rolls back. Ball is top left. Now top left.
And the shot up high from Tateshi.
I like how Japan is working the ball different areas of the field, looking at the two-man game from X behind the goal cage, as well as looking at high wing dodges.
And that's pumped in by Kanaya.
Hiroki Kanaya, midfielder of the previous World Championship in 2018, representing Tokyo and Chiba University.
Kanaya, another one of those big producers offensively for Japan. 7 points in the last World Championships in 2018, second highest on the team in the World Games with 21 points. Another big factor offensively for the Japanese national team.
It is over received by France. Japan maintains possession top left.
So we were talking about coming into this game, how much of a massive favorite Japan is probably in this game, fair to say, maybe even in the pool, considering they're the top ranked team, Courtney, outside of Pool A. It's a difficult first matchup for this France team.
You know, it's a hard matchup, but one that they want to be challenged by. They do have some players who stem from France initially, others who have a strong family history in France, and I think it's a matter for them playing in this tournament. Growing the game, that was their biggest part that the coaches had talked about. They want to make sure that they are putting France on the map, making sure that they're building those leaders and players for the future. Obviously, we talked about a couple of players collegiately playing here in the States, the University of Vermont. They had been teammates, and they have some interesting stories behind them as well.
That was a missile from Morimatsu. This time around, it's stopped by Varela. Also, he's able to gain possession. What have you seen so far in the clearing efforts from France? They try and get this into a more established offensive possession.
You know, it's all about the patience. Since there's not a shot clock in the international game, they want to make sure they get the ball safely into the offensive area. We see them have a little bit of difficulty early on.
This is the part of the field where they've had trouble.
And it's working with one another, movement. They need to show themselves in the middle of the field.
Japan in transition. Varela stepping up again. He has played well, but it's a delayed penalty situation leading into that. Now they'll throw the flag.
Varela, number 13 in gold for France. Love how his teammates, they call him Brosif. Nice little nickname. Such an electric player. He's had a lot of saves again, playing against the top team, Japan, outside of Pool A. Very difficult first assignment for France, but they're showing some positive play on the field by Varela. A lot of stops so far in goal.
Well, Varela was in there in the European qualifiers and got the majority of the looks. The first ever European Championships to also serve as the qualifiers due to the timeline shifting with COVID. Nice kick save there from Varela on the shot by Umehara. But Japan has been dominant in nearly every facet of the game. The ride game from Japan maybe has been the most underrated and effective part. They've just simply not let France clear.
They're fast, they're athletic, they talk about being physical and tenacious on the ride, and that's most definitely what we've seen so far. It's a focus for them. They want to have the ball as much as they can offensively as they work their different games, but Varela, again with a huge save, his electric district play on the field, and then just struggling the middle of the area.
He has really stood on his head so far despite the score, but tried to do something different with that clearing effort, and Varela got a piece of that shot. Joseph Varela stepping up as France throws it away again. One on the goalie, and Tateishi deposits. What a sequence where Varela was making save after save, but France just simply couldn't clear.
Back-to-back point-blank saves. He's doing his job in the goal. It's a matter of...
I'm just going this year because I can hear you. I can hear you.
Lacrosse is proud to be the premier apparel sponsor for 2023 World Lacrosse Men's Championship. Head to any of the Epoch's World Lacrosse merch tents today to get your official championship gear. Find amazing designs, including shirts and hoodies available for all 30 competing nations. Profits are shared with each nation when you purchase their gear from Epoch Lacrosse and take home a piece of history.
Connor, an 8-1 Japan lead. 4 goals from Hiroki Kanaya, a goal and 5 assists out of Shinya Tateishi. And Courtney, usually more possession is a good sign in the game of lacrosse, and the biggest trademark of Japan so far has been dominating possession.
Winning face-offs and then taking their time offensively have been the keys to success for them. Obviously, their tenacious ride all over France, because they've had numerous saves from their goalkeeper, Varela, but not letting the ball outside, essentially of the half-field line, has also proven successful for them.
Let's go, blue! Let's go, blue!
We have a good France cheering section next to us here at SDSU Sports Deck. I know how much it means, regardless of the outcome of these games, for these players to represent their country, in some cases kind of their heritage, with some American-born players, especially on the French side. And across many of the teams in the field, as that was sniped top shelf by Kanaya, who comes up with his 5th goal. He's approaching a sock trick here in the first half.
Assisted by 21, Koki Goto.
Goto with the assist.
You just mentioned France, lacrosse, and the landscape that country has. It's still a developing sport, and just the fact that they're bringing attention to it and the support the development through the national team is what is going to help them propel as they look to continue on in those future years.
And we're in the midst of a timeout here after Japan makes it 9-1. Now, you also had a chance to ask France about their goals for this tournament and what their head coach Brendan Bonnekom is looking for. And they said organized chaos and also embracing their own style.
You know, in their style, they have an eclectic group. They have players who are all about bringing out the energy in the locker room. They have a couple of identical twins, brothers, Didier and Gabriel, or as they so affectionately are also called, Diddy and Gabe. And all of these players, they come from all different walks of life. But head coach Brendan Bonnekom, he said, outside of what they're doing here in the lacrosse world, growing the game, they also do have families at home, many of them. And he, in fact, has two of his sons, Chase and Aiden, who are missing their dad right about now, but I'm sure proud of all of the efforts that he and the France team are doing on the field today.
Love the shout out there. Coach Bonnekom and his assistants are all Division II coaches and have been good friends for a long time. Coach Brendan is the head coach at Felician University in Rutherford, New Jersey. The face-off dominance by Japan continues as Dai Sato is playing keep away. And it's that patience that you see in the clearing effort. There is no timer. There's no need to push the envelope.
You know, the international rules definitely help those countries that are still developing. You don't have to get the ball over the midline in any certain amount of time. You can actually go back and forth until the ball is inside of that box area. I just thought they may bring it back a little bit so we can explain that a little bit more, but very different than what people see in the NCAA Division 1, 2, 3, where there's a shot clock in play. So it's a little bit faster, whereas this is more tactical.
I thought it was really telling, some of the quotes from Japan over how they have developed their team over the years, that they're a team that has a lot of speed and has been at times eager to push the pace, but they also understand when they get into their most high leverage games against teams like the US or Canada, they might want to slow it down and preserve possession and understand how they can take advantage of the rules of the international game. And so they've actually transitioned a bit and tried to become more patient. Some patience there by Obana, but Varela standing tall again.
I've been so impressed with his play on the field. He is certainly a defensive spark that we have seen propelling his team. It's now a matter of getting that ball into the offensive area, making sure they use one another on the field. The ride, that double team.
Why do you think between the attacking lines and this middle area of the field has been the toughest place to breach as Japan calls timeout? Why has that been the problem area for France?
The relentless doubles, the players, the surrounding of the ball. You actually have to have some longer passes in there. You're not going to be able to run the ball out of the defensive end. You need to move it. Ball moves faster than any 2 feet can run. Unless you want to try me on that. You want to try and outrun a ball?
I certainly couldn't. There's not much I think I could outrun at this point. We have a timeout with 97 seconds to go in the first half. You take a look overall, Courtney, at Pool B. Japan number 6 in the world, Wales number 14. And a situation here in pool play where the top team will advance, potentially the number 2 team in a pool could advance, but certainly looking forward to Japan and Wales here in this Pool B.
You know, I think Japan has an advantage. When you're in Pool B, they are the clear leaders, and they should be advancing with ease. Now, they won't be as beat up as some of the teams in Pool A. All teams in the Pool A are moving on. It's just a matter of the first 3 will go straight to the quarterfinals, but that easier path sometimes is a little bit easier on the body because this is a gauntlet, World Championships. It's back-to-back games over and over again over these next few weeks.
It certainly is, and Although, as you said, Japan should easily advance. They're in a position to. There's also no room for error. If you do lose a game in pool play, then there's no guarantees you're moving on. So each one of these games is a must win.
Anybody can win on any given day, and we've seen it happen in the past. So making sure that you are set, ready to go, exactly, not taking anything for granted and stepping up. I like the fact that they are trying new things. They're looking to work play inside, having some off-ball work, and that's been a huge focus for Team Japan, their off-ball play. They consider themselves an off-ball team, and you can see why. It's not just about the player with the ball, but everybody else working as a unit offensively.
Well, we've seen them work as a unit to perfection in this first half. Methodical, patient, disciplined. I mean, pick your adjective about Japan here in Pool B.
You know, their creativity, I think, is one of their other best parts. They look to mirror the fact that they've had a couple players play in Canada, some box lacrosse for a little bit of time, and be able to bring some of those concepts back to Japan. They're always looking to be creative in how they can elevate their game, which is what you need as you want to become one of the best in the world.
I think they already have some players that are pretty good creators and can work with the ball and create things, but some of that Canadian influence, some great finishers through physicality maybe developed from that side as time winds down in the first half. One more chance here for Japan. Tough angle shot by Goto. And the clock has stopped with .8. I think another couple of seconds ran off the timer there. It might need to get reset to about 3. Or they'll just finish it up. That'll do it for the first 2 quarters. A 9-1 Japan lead. Luc Blanc scoring the lone France goal, but dominant first halves out of Hiroki Kanaya with 5 goals on 6 shots.
talk back. Can you hear me? Alex, can you hear me?
Remains in halftime before we commence the second half of Japan versus France, the 2023 World Lacrosse Championships in San Diego, California, on Kumeyaay territory.
Talk about Japan so far, you have to talk about Hiroki Kanaya, Tori Matsumatsu, Morimatsu, Kazuki Obana. They have just really done a good job of sharing the ball offensively, letting the ball do the work, as well as generating some off-ball picks, some cuts, some strong outside shots. It's really been a team offense for them.
Well, Kanaya had the assist on the momentous game winner by Obana against Great Britain in the sixes in the World Games in Birmingham, Alabama last summer. And Kanaya had a 5-goal first half. I don't know what was more impressive, the 5 goals by Kanaya or Shinya Tateishi's 5 assists. I thought Tateishi really early on, he had 3 early assists in the first quarter, set the tone for Japan.
And then he started with the scoring in the second half. We're used to having a lot of points from him. World Games last summer, 22 points overall, 18 goals, 4 assists. So he is most definitely an offensive firepower for Team Japan.
And KZ Victor Ishii has been just dominant winning faceoffs. In the first half, Varela had 9 goals allowed, 9 saves. 1 goal allowed on 1 shot faced by Tokumasu. The goalkeeper for Japan only facing the 1 shot. Luc Blanc was able to score on it. But keep in mind as well, one thing that I think everyone watching should keep in mind is that tiebreakers could play a significant role in this field. For instance, if you're Japan and you are the massive favorite out of Pool B, but let's say they drop one against Wales, which is the second-ranked team. Then you're dependent potentially on tiebreakers to advance to the knockout stage. And so the first tiebreaker after you're thinking of head-to-head and overall record and placement is goal differential. So if you're Japan right now, it probably serves you to try and pour it on in the second half. And so if people are kind of wondering about that, no, I think Japan should keep on pressing the pedal to the metal here if they can.
Scoring as many as you can while also not allowing a lot of goals against. which 1 so far is pretty good, but knowing their goals heading into World Championships, Japan said, we want to be in the Final Four at least. So they expect to do well in this tournament. They have the potential. Again, they proved that in Worlds, getting a bronze medal, having a great showing. But their identity, they want to just surprise themselves, as well as the Japanese community, and most all, the entire world, with what they have been able to accomplish from year to year. They feel that they are primed, and they've been waiting 5 years for this World Championship.
Semis at least. They're definitely a contender to make it. That's not an unrealistic goal, as an excellent clearing effort is made.
Justin Rosenberg, number 0 for France. He scored 10 goals in the European qualifying, but he is also a player from University of Vermont who wasn't a player on the field. He actually started in goal. Did that for 3 years, 6 games into his senior season, made the switch to the field, and we can see why. He's athletic, he's quick, has anticipation defensively, and obviously some speed as he transitioned that last ball easily. Had a brief stint with the Bayhawks as well in the Major Lacrosse League before that combined with the PLL.
Another dodge by Quentin Norris. Tried to connect with Bertrand, who scoops up the ground ball. Now back to Rosenberg. You don't see that often, the converted goalie to field player. Rosenberg tries to jump, and that was inadvertently blocked on the way in, but scooped up by France.
That's going to leave a mark.
Not so fun to take that punishment as the flag flies during this possession.
So penalty on the field. We're going to see a player up opportunity, the first one for France. If they can put the second goal on the board, that would be huge for them.
Yeah, trying to make small gains, take some small steps, have a nice second half here. This would be a good first step. Only 1 shot attempted so far before this possession by France. Rosenberg loads up, shot is saved by Tokumasu. And now with the player down, Japan being careful.
They can take as much time as needed. There's no shot clock, no time to get the ball over the midline. As you had mentioned, they are a player down at this point. Run out the penalty until they have even numbers. And they haven't really had a difficult time clearing the ball to date. They've been able to use their athleticism quite well.
Actually, Japan making a goalie change at halftime. It's Shogo Oshima hitting the nod here for the second half.
Looks like the penalty has been released, and both teams are even strength at this point. Feels like it's been a while since Japan has had the ball on offense.
Yeah, better start to this third quarter by France compared to what we saw certainly for the start of the first quarter and almost any stretch of play during the first half. Nonetheless, we'll see what Japan can do with this possession as Kanaya cycles it straight on to Teishi, stopped by Varela. Well, Varela has been there and performed very well despite the lopsided score. And does that get through? It just does. Jack Snyder can pick it up, cross the midfield line, get the clear for France. And now France will use a timeout.
A great use of a timeout right there. Japan was tracking that ball down. 3 players looking in the ride, just 2 players for France offensively. So excellent call by the coaching staff for France, and who's known one another for a long time. They have played together, coach against one another in the NCAA D2 ranks. They're a staff that has a lot of fun.
Yeah, they do. And I think the last time they called a timeout, Courtney, they scored. So, so you know what? Why not at this stage in the third quarter? They're a team that has a couple of players out of UVM, James Barlow and Justin Rosenberg. And then a current NCAA D1 player in Luc Blanc, who scored the lone goal today. There are actually 2 players on the France side who have converted from goalie to field player. AJ Smith, one of their top defenders, is a former college goalie at Virginia Wesleyan.
So we have the brother connection. We have several players who don't just have great IQ on the field, but they are pretty smart off the field as well. 2 PhDs.
Yeah, Kata Christoph and Jack Snyder. Jack Snyder, his PhD in computer science. Kata Christoph in clinical psychology.
Sounds like us up here in the booth.
Yeah. I don't know about that.
After that timeout, let's see if France can convert offensively how they did last time. Timeout by their coaching staff. They will draw something up, come out and score their first goal at the end of that first quarter. And we're in quarter 3. So they're looking to repeat history on this last one.
See, this is Luc Blanc, who had scored that previous goal. And using 2 players behind the cage. Dylan Snyder, part of the first line midfield, and Rosenberg on to Blanc. Blanc out of Marquette, 4 years at Seton Hall Prep in West Orange, New Jersey, where he was a major recruit. It's Blanc. He was 1-on-2 there. Tough shot in traffic, but France has the numbers behind to back it up.
And he was taking on Daisato, who's the captain. There's 4 captains for Team Japan, but he is by far the biggest leader, and he is probably one of the best on-ball defensive players as well.
Now, Japan had issues actually corralling that loose ball, but eventually after the rebound attempts, Japan will now be in better clearing position.
Not as much pressure put on them in the ride. France electing just to kind of talk things over offensively as makes for an easy clear for Team Japan.
You see how much the finer details come into play. You know, face-off technique, the advanced riding technique that Japan has. And some of those smaller things have put them ahead and added up to this 9-1 advantage.
That's right, the more time that France, who's in their infancy of lacrosse, but yet still competing against one of the top teams in the country, certainly in the top 10, if not top 5 or 6, Japan. So a hard matchup to begin with. I do expect for their other matchups within Pool B to be a bit easier for them. And it's hard when you're playing defense for most of each quarter. You can get tired on the field, but they've been doing a great job.
That was ripped, though, by Tateshi. He was showing out in the first half in terms of being a feeder. That's his 2nd goal and his 7th point of the day.
Shinya Tateishi, number 3 in white. Hometown of Tokyo, and Takeo University. We talked about his level of efforts in the 22 World Games, but he's having a pretty good start today.
He had a lot of production in those World Games, and it has continued. 6.5.
like come over here to get a little warm, and then I'm like, oh, this, it's so cold.
There are 107 games that will take place from yesterday, June 21st to July 1st. 30 nations being represented, and there are 86 nations that comprise World Lacrosse.
Continue along here in the World Championship presented by Rady Children's Hospital. 2023 World Lacrosse Men's World Championship. And should be set to go. Keep it moving between France and Japan. This game, the first for either of these teams out of Pool B, which also features Wales, Denmark, and Uganda. AJ Cannell with Courtney Martinez-Connor. And a procedure violation on the face-off. It is Japan's possession.
It's hard to believe that the last goal by number 3, Shinya Tasaishi, is the first goal of the entire third quarter.
So better job by France of slowing Japan down, but you know what has been such a boon for Japan? The face-off stat. It's 12 for 12 now. France yet to deliver a face-off win.
And that's difficult when you're not winning possession of the ball. That just means you're heading back to your defensive end, which they've done consistently throughout this game. Again, France, better showing in the third quarter, but Varela in cage, he has just been outstanding. Really much playing on his head, as in that last save instance. And without his play and goal, I mean, this score would be much different.
He's doing a great job. Stop Junichi Suzuki there. Varela was a starter the final 3 years of his career at Alderson Broaddus Division II school in West Virginia. He improved his goals against average and save percentage each year at Alderson Broaddus. A high-level Division II player that can get you pretty far in this tournament, and Varela's holding his own against one of the best teams in the field.
Coaching staff said that Joseph Varela in cage, he always seems to come up clutch for us. We can obviously see why, and he is one of the backbone type players of this team and also one of the funniest. Always love a laugh in the locker room.
Love that. He gets another save. Tateishi with the shot. Now Varela, I think the biggest thing that we could see right now from France is a little more patience. I mean, there's no clearing timer. There's just been times when they've tried to rush things unnecessarily. Hold it all day. Just don't turn it over, I would say.
Use it to your advantage. Back and forth, play a little bit of keep away until you see that clear lane. But we see a lot of players surrounding the ball right there. Japan, pretty intense.
Rosenberg was hemmed in there, and what I think will be called as a slash from what it looked like against Japan.
Most definitely, we're going to see a penalty for a slash. Last time, France was not able to come up with a goal. However, we did see a couple good quality shots. Justin Rosenberg having some shots on cage, but goalie coming up with an even bigger save in man-down situations, and then they finished out the penalty in their offensive end. So let's see if we can work things a little bit smarter.
Tough pass there, attempted by Morghiz. Penalty was on Morimatsu, but Japan should be in a position to hold again for the rest of the man-down. Clear made by Kota Ianai. And Japan just holding as the penalty expires. So now 6-on-6 once again. Tateishi leapt to try and haul that one in, could not, so it's turned over And now maybe here's where France could try and go quicker. You pick up the ball, and as players were scrambling, but they were unable to really get a quick restart there. So now Japan can set up its ride game.
And that was a great look. Excellent vision for Japan. Obviously pass just a little bit high for Shinya Tataeshi. Not quite on the mark. But they're certainly working the clock to their advantage, seeing opportunities.
It felt like France did most of the work in that clear, but then the ball was ultimately thrown away.
Despite the score, this third quarter, when you think that it's just 1-0 Japan,
yeah,
that's a big adjustment for France.
Yeah, that's a huge adjustment.
A lot of defense is being played, but they're forcing some bad passes. They're coming up with some saves, getting it out of the defensive end, getting some time offensively, all very important as they progress their play.
What a move by Suzuki, setting up Tateshi.
Assisted by number 22, Junichi Suzuki.
Two world-class moves. Suzuki with the setup, Tateshi with the finish.
Something that we've seen countless times before, especially World Games last summer. A lot of these players, as you had mentioned, they've had time to gel, to really connect. The sixes game was very fast, back and forth, a lot of high-powered play, shot clock heavy, and now they're getting comfortable with, we don't have a shot clock to work with, but let's still continue those connections on the field, that vision, the quick ball movement. And goal number 2 of the third quarter.
Face-off scooped up routinely by Ikomishito Shimada. And now Tateshi gets top side, whizzes one by the cage. Japan enjoying the final possession of this third quarter. Umehara got on his horse. It was nearly raked in by Tateshi off the ground ball situation. And the horn sounds on the third quarter. Well, as Courtney pointed out, much stronger quarter for France there. Only conceded 2 goals. But Japan is 1 quarter left to play. sponsor of the 2023 World Lacrosse Men's Championship. It's 12-1 Japan. Obana strikes for their third goal since halftime.
Kazuki Obana, he's a specialist with his shooting, and we can see why. A sniper from the outside, but credit to Japan as they won another face-off and translated quickly, and that fast break right to goal, putting Japan on the board quickly. I have a feeling they had a quick little chat about we need to try and extend this lead, as you had mentioned. If anything comes down to a tie, that goal differential is one of the first things that's looked at.
Yeah, it's goal differential and then goals against. So it is also important to try and keep your opponent empty as much as possible, and that's something Japan has done. A 12-1 advantage. Hey, a face-off win for France, their first of the day. And a huge eruption from the France supporters next to us. The short stick defensive mini, Didier Fardin, ends up picking up the ground ball. You know, when France is able to gather possession, they have some capable players on this side. They just haven't been able to feature them so far.
They definitely have some feeders. They have players who can shoot from the outside. Then they have players who have quickness that's been a little bit hard for Japan to contain. And that player right there, Justin Rosenberg, wearing number 0 in blue, is one of those players who can create separation with his quickness.
Now Alex Morguez out of Richmond, British Columbia, to James Barlow, one of the 2 UVM grads. Barlow from the doorstep back out to Luc Blanc, who has the lone goal for France. And Luc Blanc out of Marquette had a very solid season in 2023 at Marquette in Division 1. As the shot by Barlow is just contained down there by Shogo Oshima.
James Barlow, a sneaky attacker. Coaches say he's worth the price of admission. He's a fearless leader on the field and trying to use his shake and bake back and forth skills, but goalie for Japan, number 30, Shogo Oshima, had that shot read right from the beginning, and then back to defense for France, as we've seen just consistently throughout this game.
You got to keep in mind, yes, France did qualify because of the fact that Denmark had to drop out due to financial concerns. But France is still, in terms of their world ranking, you know, middle of the pack in terms of this overall field in the tournament. And they had a winning record in the European qualifiers. In fact, James Barlow, he was the leading scorer in the entire European qualifiers among all players. So they were putting in goals in the qualifier. But Japan is just that good. Umehara. On around to Hiroki Kanaya. Kanaya gets the pick from Tateishi. Koki Goto spinning around. Tateishi has 7 points to his credit already. Make it 8!
Goal by number 3, Shunya Tateishi.
He is just putting on a show today. This is their first game of World Championships, and he is making his mark known. Number 3 in white.
And actually, that's
Shinya Tateishi. How many is on the day here?
Yeah, pardon me, it's actually 9 now. It's his 4th goal to go with 5 assists. He's looking for double figures if he can get one more goal or assist.
You know, a lot of players, as you are being marked oftentimes by the top defensive opponent, can be a little bit more difficult to score, but he just seems to find a way to get the job done. It's most definitely one of those biggest threats offensively, if not the biggest threat for Team Japan.
Well, France looking more competitive the last couple of face-off draws, but eventually loose ball there by Katsumi Sugino.
Again, it's all about the little improvements here and there, just as you had mentioned. Each time making it a little bit more difficult. But I think Japan has put the pedal to the metal as they're trying to create a larger separation here in the fourth quarter. Again, their work off ball is something they are honing in on. We see a lot of quick movement, a lot of creativity, a lot of work with one another off ball, setting some picks, trying to create some mismatches defensively.
And great ball movement again, ends up with a Kazuki Obana goal. It's now 14-1 Japan.
And credit number 10, Sota Hakozaka. In 2022, he played in the U20 World Championships for Japan. He's one of the younger players for the Japanese national team. Again, he had the vision to feed Obana from X behind the goal cage. So I like how they're getting different looks. It's not always the same thing over and over again. Even from Tateishi, we're seeing a variation.
I mean, I guess at a certain point you have to see a variation when you pour in 9 points from one player. It's been impressive. Clean face-off win by Japan. It's Japan rushing to the goal and scoring for the second time. France, I should say, scores.
And you can hear the excitement from the fans in the stands. That's huge. Winning a face-off, going straight down as if the Red Sea is parted, straight to goal. France getting goal number 2 on the board here in the fourth quarter.
I have so many thoughts. I missed it, yeah. Me too. I just did the idea that France was going to win a face-off and then go score was pretty surprising, and the wind just like doubled in the last couple of minutes. Like literally, how could it be windier? Sorry. Well, France is able to score for the second time this 14-2 game, but we've been talking about, Courtney, the improvements that France has been able to make first half to second half.
You know, France has been able to slow down the offense of Team Japan significantly, especially in the third and fourth quarter thus far. And the fact that they've been able to come up with some face-offs, making some adjustments, always key.
Well, Giacoto was the one that won the face-off last time around, doing it himself again and drawing a penalty.
Against Japan.
So we're going to see a penalty for a push.
Utah Kato. You wonder, is there, is part of this too, when you're a team like Japan, you came out so strong, you put together a double-figure lead, there's that natural psychological let-up that's hard to avoid sometimes.
You know, this is World Championships though, and the fact that Japan has such a substantial lead, being able to finish the game is undoubtedly one of the things that their coach was talking about at this last timeout, because we've seen a resounding change in effort for France. They're just playing a little bit more with a chip on their shoulder. They're a little bit more intense, speedy.
And I'm sure given where Japan's aspirations rest in this championship and their sky-high goals, they're going to take very seriously finishing strong regardless of what the score is in this opening game of their tournament.
And just during warm-ups, watching what they were doing, very disciplined, focused. You can tell that they are a team who has been working hard, gearing up for these World Championships here in San Diego.
They said it's really a culmination, Courtney, of what they have been putting together the last few years. We talked about the turning over of the roster a little bit from 2018 in Israel. They already had a great thing going. They've had some really good finishes in recent tournaments, but it almost feels like they're trying to go from good to great. They're trying to be a team that previously maybe is a top 10 team, and now, you know, can they work their way into medal contention? That's where Japan's goals are at this point. And they, in their most recent World Championship appearance in the sixes discipline, they did medal. They got the bronze.
It was a huge accomplishment for the Japanese national team. They were incredibly excited, all their hard work paying off. But selecting the roster for these World Championships here in San Diego, they said was one of the most difficult things to do. They were trying to foresee and picture just which players were going to have the best chemistry together and would bring about the best results for their country. So incredibly difficult, because they are proud of all of their players. But tough job it is. I know one that coaches don't take lightly when selecting rosters. It's not necessarily always the best players, but the best team that you try and put together.
Coming off of the player down situation. Kanaya. Umehara. On the doorstep, and it's Tateshi again. He's got a goal, or excuse me, has a point for each finger. He's got 10.
And this assist credited to Hiroki Kanaya, another one of his teammates from the 22 World Games in Birmingham, Alabama. Hiroki Kanaya, second highest in scoring for Team Japan from the World Games, and backing up none other than Shinya Takaishi. They work quite well together. You were talking about Team Japan, the selection process, the team that they've managed to put together, and how those players who didn't make it this trip to San Diego, how those who are here, they are keeping it close to heart, remembering that they are representing those players as well in addition to their country. A lot of pride that you feel from that entire team.
But you hear a lot of countries talk about their goal of sustainability, and that's both from a financial perspective and from a player development perspective. France has got all of that, Japan, and in particular from a player development perspective, the idea that they're not reliant upon utilizing any American-born players, and it's all self-sustained. I mean, that's not something. It's something that other teams are working towards, but Japan has really accomplished that as a developing lacrosse country in a way that not a lot of other teams have quite gotten there yet.
You know, they bring in other colleges throughout the NCAA in the summertime, so they do want to play against the best because they feel that's what's going to help make them the best as well.
Potential scoring chance for Tateshi there, but he decided not to shoot. Now Suzuki.
A lot of movement on the field. We see a couple cuts streaking through. Again, they're trying out different things, and why not? This fourth quarter. And the referees are showing the signal that they need to keep the play in that area offensively. They felt a little bit of a stall action happening. Since there's no shot clock, want to keep everything moving.
I could feel that stall action happening.
And they were slowing things down a little bit too much. You just see it not necessarily playing to their advantage, and France able to come up with that turnover.
I think that was our first stall warning that I can recall of this game.
You would be correct on that, yes.
Well, the no possession timer is either if you already have the ball in the box, you say keep it in or potentially get it in if you're on the offensive side of the field but not in the offensive zone. And now with under 2 minutes to go, gets the ball back.
Two back-to-back turnovers, one for Japan and then another for France as the game is just coming to a close. Both teams, a little bit of fatigue settling in when you're tired. Decision-making is a little bit clouded. Takes that extra focus to finish these 4 quarters with strength, with speed, endurance.
It seems like Japan's kind of called it off here. They're not really making an attempt to go toward goal the last couple of possessions unless something changes.
Unless that timer comes on again, and then they just need to be a little bit more focused with that ball. Last time they passed it to a teammate who wasn't quite looking.
Well, one more timeout utilized here by Japan with $1:13 left. We'll talk about the road ahead for these teams now. Japan plays on Friday against Uganda, so a quicker turnaround. They play tomorrow at 10 o'clock in the morning. And on Saturday against Wales at 1, and on Sunday against Denmark at 4. Again, highlight that game against Wales. And for France, they play Denmark tomorrow at 7. Again, Denmark and France both benefiting from Finland dropping out after qualifying. Finland had financial issues. And so Denmark moves up a spot, France moves into the field. Those two teams play each other tomorrow at 7. France then plays Uganda Saturday at 1. They have Sunday off, and in the final day of pool play, they face Wales at 10 a.m. But the way France looks at it, despite the tough result here, they'd love to have maybe an upset win against Denmark, do their job against Uganda, give themselves a chance against Wales on Monday to then sneak in to the bracket stage of this tournament.
Japan will get possession side left relative to the goal with 1:13 remaining in the fourth period.
But on the flip side, we talk all about tiebreakers. There's also, it's difficult now for a team like France when you not only lose a game, but you have this type of margin. There's a lot there to make up the rest of the way to give yourselves a chance.
It is, but you have to look at the little wins. The wins that they've had, some face-offs here in the fourth quarter, a lot of defensive stops, especially in that third quarter. It can be quite difficult and tiring when you're playing most of the game on one end of the field. But I think defensively, they've made some big strides, and especially in goal, Varela did a great job, but now we see another goalie in for France, Sebastien Seymour.
The other game in this pool that's going on right now, Wales has a slim lead over Denmark in the fourth quarter, 5-4 at the moment. That would be a surprise a little bit if Denmark were able to pull off an upset. Still a close game there, but final 10 seconds of action as Japan will hold it. Soda Hakozaki will possess in the corner, and it was all Team Japan In the first game of the World Championship for these two teams in Pool B, Japan 15, France 2.
A resounding win for Team Japan, riding the shoulders of Tateishi as well as Kanaya. Two of the top two offensive players for Japan, and they most definitely did their job on the field today, leading them offensively, but got to give credit to the face-offs of Team Japan as well. Keiji Victor Ishii doing a great job starting things off at the face-off.
Well, Varela holding things down in net the best he could for France, but as you described, an all-around great performance for Japan, led by 5 goals apiece from Tateishi and Kanaya, but the 10-point performance from Shinya Tateishi leading the way for Japan, a 15-2 victory in their first game here in Pool B. For Courtney Martinez, Connor, AJ Cannell saying so long from the SDSU Sports Deck. It was all Team Japan today.
Ladies and gentlemen, a round of applause for France and Japan.